Imagine a typical evening. A person comes home after work, takes off his jacket, puts his phone on charge, and opens the banking app almost without thinking. He doesn't do it because something terrible has happened. It's a habit. How to check the weather. The salary has already been paid, the bills have already been debited, and the balance doesn't scare you. Technically, everything is fine, but there's a familiar tension inside. Quiet, background, as if life is held on thin ice. He closes the app and goes to the kitchen. There's food in the fridge. There are clothes in the closet. The car's parked outside the house. It doesn't look like poverty, but it doesn't look like peace of mind either. He always seems to just keep up, manages to pay for it, manages to close the month, manages to exhale exactly until the next write off, and each time he hopes that the next month will be easier, but it doesn't get any easier. The strangest thing about this story is that this person doesn't look like a person who has money problems. He doesn't ask for a loan. It's not overdue. He doesn't live in chaos. He looks responsible. He plans. He's trying. It does what is generally considered correct. That's why this feeling is so confusing. If I'm doing everything right, why is it so cramped inside? Why does it feel like there's not enough air all the time? The next day, he goes back to work. Everything is familiar there. Tasks, messages, deadlines, meetings. It does its job normally or well. Sometimes he gets tired. Sometimes he feels like he's growing, and it's really growing. Your income is now higher than it was a few years ago. The level has become more stable. If you compare it to what it was before, the progress is obvious, but there is no sense of victory inside. There is a feeling that progress disappears somewhere along the way without reaching a sense of security. Most people live with simple logic. If I earn more money, I will feel calm. If I reach a certain number, I will finally exhale, and it sounds reasonable. But in reality, money often does something else. They don't give you peace of mind automatically. They provide new opportunities. And along with opportunities, they create new expectations. And if expectations grow faster than the feeling of control, the internal pressure only increases. There is a trap that works quietly. When revenue increases, life updates the settings. Not abrupt or dramatic, very smooth. The apartment is getting a little better. The area seems more logical. The car should be more reliable. Food is ordered more often. Subscriptions appear unnoticed. Purchases become less deliberate. None of this looks like luxury. Everything looks reasonable. The problem is that smart little solutions add up to an expensive norm. At first, the boost really gives relief. For a couple of weeks, it seems to have gotten easier. Then life pulls up new habits. You start living as if this is the normal level. And now, instead of freedom, there's a new base of expenses. This database starts to require maintenance, not only with money, but also with nerves. Because now your life can't be disrupted. You can't let the month slip away. You can't have a pause. You can't let anything go wrong. The most unpleasant thing is that the new base makes the rollback emotionally painful. If you used to live at the same level and now you have to go down, this does not feel like saving money. It feels like a defeat. It's like you've lost control. It's like you've lost your status. It's like you've lost. And because of this, the anxiety often becomes stronger than during the period when the income was less, then the rates were lower and now higher. And this is where psychology comes in. The brain quickly gets used to the good stuff. At first, the new one gives a splash. Then it becomes the background, and the background is not happy. The background just becomes a condition. You get used to the convenience. You get used to the level, you get used to what used to be a dream, and the brain starts looking for the next improvement. Not because you're ungrateful, not because you're bad, but because that's how it works. It's not built for constant gratification. It is designed for movement. If you've ever caught yourself thinking that just a little more and it will be quiet, you are already familiar with this mechanism. Just a little more income and I'll relax. I'll save up a little more and exhale. One more step and security will appear. The problem is that security is a feeling, and feeling doesn't follow mathematics the way we'd like it to. Math can provide a foundation, but if the internal scenario doesn't change, the feeling slips away again. There is a term that describes this condition well: slow poverty. This is not poverty by numbers. This is stock poverty by air. Right to make a mistake. You don't fall into the abyss. You just keep walking on a narrow path without a railing, and every breeze feels like a threat. Any surprise turns into stress, not because it's disruptive, but because it doesn't fit in. Slow poverty looks like a normal life. You pay the rent, you buy food, you work, you seem fine. But there is no space inside. Everything is distributed in advance. Everything has already been taken into account. You don't build life, you serve life. And this service takes energy. It's not just work that makes you tired. You get tired of being constantly monitored, from constant voltage, from constantly trying not to drop anything. And here's the most insidious part. This scenario rarely starts with a big mistake. It starts with an imperceptible change in the norm. From the fact that you start to live not by your own rules, but by the rules that seem natural around you. And here we come to what makes this trap stronger today than ever: social network. The problem is not that social networks are bad. The problem is that they change your point of reference. You used to compare yourself to who you were a year ago. Now you're comparing yourself to people you don't even know. You open the feed for 2 minutes and your brain gets 100 signals about what normal life looks like. Journeys, restaurants, new cars, beautiful apartments, gadgets, smiles, gifts, party, and everything is served as if it is an ordinary weekday. You may think you're not falling for it, but your brain doesn't need your consent. It needs repetition. If you see the same thing many times, it becomes the norm, and you don't even notice how your inner bar is rising. You don't tell yourself I want to be like them. You just start to feel like you're missing something, and this feeling appears without logic, just as a background, just as an annoyance, just like the feeling that you are somewhere behind. Social networks create the illusion that life is easier for everyone around you. It's like everyone has money, as if everyone has freedom. As if everyone doesn't have a problem, but the feed doesn't show reality. She points to the window, best moments, best shots, sometimes credit purchases. Sometimes life is in debt. Sometimes one successful month, which is passed off as constancy. Sometimes my parents have money. Sometimes random gifts. Sometimes just a statement, and you compare your daily routine with other people's best shots. It's not fair play, but the brain doesn't count justice. It counts as normal. The most dangerous effect is that social networks change what you consider mandatory. Not desirable, but mandatory. A good coffee shop becomes commonplace. Frequent delivery becomes common. Normal rest becomes not a rest, but a proof that you live. Your apartment is starting to feel smaller. Your car is starting to look older. Your wardrobe is starting to feel inadequate. Even if yesterday you were happy, today there is a slight sense of shame. Not bright, not loud. The quiet one, but it pushes. And as soon as this quiet feeling appears, you start making decisions not for the sake of life, but for the sake of conformity, not necessarily consciously. This can be very mild. You just tell yourself more often why not. You were working. You're tired. You deserve it. You don't want to feel worse. You don't want to fall out. You don't want to be the one who saves. And here begins the same lifestyle inflation accelerated by social networks. It almost always looks like small things. Another service, another subscription, another habit, another delivery, another taxi, another small upgrade. Small things don't scare you. Small things do not cause alarm. Small things don't look like a risk, but it is the little things that create the base. And then the database becomes mandatory. There is another effect. Social networks create an expectation of speed. Everyone seems to be growing fast. They earn money quickly. They change your life quickly. They quickly reach a new level. And your actual progress, which is usually slow and calm, is starting to seem insufficient. You feel that you're falling behind, even if objectively everything has improved. This feeling pushes you to make decisions that provide instant relief, but make the future worse. Installment plan, credit, buying for the mood, spending for the sake of feeling that you also live. And here's the paradox: the more you earn, the more ways there are to spend money around you. The world doesn't tell you to stop. The world tells you it's okay. And the more often you hear it, the less you question whether it makes my life safer or just makes it more expensive. Therefore, an evening look at the balance becomes not a check of money. It becomes a security check. Balance seems to answer the question of whether I can relax, and most often the answer is not yes. Because even if there is enough money, the obligations inside the head are still there. You're thinking about next month, about holding on, that you can't make a mistake, about maintaining the level. There are people with less income and more peace of mind, and there are people with a large income and constant stress. The difference is not only in the amount, difference in stock availability and rules. If there are no rules, the environment will write them, and the environment will always raise the bar, because there will always be people around who spend more. There will always be a new normal. There will always be a new showcase. And this is where the output starts. It's not about austerity. It's not about prohibitions. It's about regaining control, about making money a tool again, not a compliance test, about making your life your starting point again and not someone else's tape. The first and most important rule is the promotion rule. Not after the promotion, but before. Before the money arrives, you already know where the raise is going. Some of it goes to the reserve. Into the pillow, something that reduces pressure. The other part can be used to improve your life, but consciously. Something that really reduces stress and not just improves the picture. If you don't choose, the world will choose for you. And the world usually chooses so that your base grows, because it benefits everyone around you, except for your nervous system. Convenience sells beautifully. The status sells perfectly. Quick relief sells beautifully, but no one is selling peace of mind. You build your own peace of mind. The second rule is to pause before upgrading. When you want to increase your fixed expenses, ask yourself 2 questions. This reduces my stress or increases it. It brings me closer to freedom or binds me more strongly. Some upgrades actually reduce anxiety. A reliable machine can reduce the risk of unexpected costs. A safe area can improve your sleep. A good mattress can stabilize your energy. This may be reasonable, but if the upgrade is only needed to look normal, it becomes fuel for the treadmill. The third rule is to regain your sensitivity to progress. Adapting makes you blind to improvements. You stop noticing how much better it is. And then the brain requires a new improvement as the only source of movement. Therefore, it is useful sometimes to make a simple mental contrast. Remember how it was before. What you thought was unattainable at the time. What you wanted then. Not to scold yourself, but to see again that you have already grown up. This brings back peace of mind without shopping. The fourth rule is control over small things, but not in the sense of total accounting, but in the sense of understanding what exactly eats the air. The most dangerous expenses rarely look big. They look like a convenience. They look like normality. They look like small solutions that are not worth paying attention to, but they are the ones that add up to the database. Therefore, it is useful to just observe for 1 month. Don't blame yourself. Don't be ashamed. Don't be dramatic. Just see where the base got heavy, where habit became a commitment. And here comes another truth. Many purchases are not purchases. These are emotions, fatigue, reward, compensation. An attempt to feel in control of at least something. When the day is hard, buying gives you the feeling that you have done something for yourself. When anxious, delivery gives you a sense of caring. When you're bored, the marketplace gives you a sense of movement, and this is normal. But if it becomes a system, money ceases to be a resource. It becomes a drain on energy. Therefore, instead of asking how to earn more money, it is useful to ask another question. What exactly makes me tense? Not in theory, but in fact. This is a lack of stock. This is the fear of losing a level. This is a comparison with others. It feels like I have to conform. This is the habit of covering up your fatigue with shopping. These are commitments I typed in because it seemed normal. And here's the main shift. When a person says they want more money, they usually want less pressure. He wants silence in his head. He wants the right to make mistakes. He wants space. And this space is built not by purchases, but by stock, a supply of money, a margin of time, energy reserve, a margin of freedom of choice. The best indicator of sustainability is not revenue. This is how much air you have. How many months can you survive without panicking? How much your life depends on making sure that every month is perfect. If it is completely dependent, this is crowding, even with a good income, and that's why people can feel poor even after a promotion. They bought a more expensive rate. They didn't buy freedom. There is a simple thought test. Imagine that you stop watching the tape for 30 days. Not forever, not dramatic, just an experiment. And during this time, every time you want to upgrade, you ask yourself if this is my desire or a reflection of someone else's showcase. Most of the wishes will become quieter, because many desires do not appear from the inside, but from the outside. They come like a virus, invisible, and if you remove the source, the idea ceases to seem urgent. Another test. Imagine that you have to cut your expenses by 10%, not because of the trouble, it's because you wanted to create a stock, to get the air back. What you will remove. If you immediately feel shame or fear, this is a signal, so your database has become more than just a waste. It became an identity. You've tied your sense of self to spending, and then even a small decrease is perceived as a blow to the individual. And this is not about money, this is about internal pressure. And so the solution is not to become perfect. It's not about never spending. It's not about living like an ascetic. The solution is to choose your own norm, choose your own reference point. Choose the rules that you live by, because if you don't choose, algorithms choose for you. Advertisement, tape, environment, and they choose to make you never feel like you've had enough. You're not broken if you feel that way. You are a person in the world who is constantly raising the bar and selling normality as a commodity. But when you see the mechanism, you can choose otherwise. Not abruptly, not dramatic, but calmly. With rules, with a pause. Welcome back, control. And one day you will open the banking app again in the evening and feel not the tightness, but the space. Not because you're richer, it's because you've stopped living on the edge. If this feeling is familiar, you're not alone. And if you want more such calm discussions about money and psychology, where no one pushes or scares, please like and subscribe.